Hey folks, Desert Artist here. I am here. I am doing something I haven't done in a long time, and that's, well, I'm making a leather vest for a friend of mine. And I kind of want to show you the process in which I've done this. Right now all I've got is the front lapel, and what I've done is I've actually cut the shirt apart that he gave me for the sizing. I've cut the shirt apart and I have taken the lapel down and I have cut it into this here, which is the lapel, which is the front part of it here. Here is the side that goes under the arms, and here's the front of the lapel. And he wanted it to kind of pop up to show off his belt buckle on the closure. So what I've done here is I've gotten this part out, and what I'm doing now is I am cutting out the back part, I guess what they call it, the chasing W or the walking W or whatever. In any case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to be using my little tracer here, and I'm going to be tracing out the edges. And what I'm going to do is I'm only going to cut out half of it, and because vests are symmetrical, I will be measuring the distance over here and the distance over here, and I will be tracing out the finer one here, as opposed to the round sloppy cut that I did there. I only need one half of it in order to be able to get the right shape. But what I do need to do is I need to put the lapel on here, and I need to measure to make sure that it is the same exact size as that one, which it's not. It seems to be off a little bit. Now I can trim on that afterwards, but here I am right now. I am going to be tracing this out and cutting it. So you can kind of see how I do my leather work. Now I'm going to be doing this, this is the outside of the hide here. You can see I've got a little pinhole right there. I'm going to cut right on around that. And, well, let's see what happens. As general as these things go, you just never know how it's going to go until it goes. So, here we go. Now what I'm doing is I'm cutting right along the line here, and I'm giving myself a little extra room, and it's a vest, so I don't really need the sleeves. So I'm cutting the sleeve and I'm tossing it to the side, and as I said, I only need really half of part of what I'm doing. What I'm doing right now is I should probably mark down the way that this is going to be. This is going to be the center part here, and I'm going to cut out the W. Okay, so here's the kind that I found is a little bit more Western, was to go around in this shape here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and cut this out and then fold it in half and make sure it's symmetrical. Actually, I don't need to do that. I can just do basically half of the shirt, which is what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and cut half of the shirt. I'm going to start over here. I'm just going to go ahead and cut the style that I want. And I'll explain as to the reason why I wanted this style, not just because of the style and the way that it looks, but also because of the stretch pattern of the leather. So this is going to be the top half of the back of the shirt. Now it's important to know that I wanted the stretch of the, because when you bend over, you stretch like this, so your stretch pattern is going to be across like this, while down here it's going to be a cross when you bend across or whatever. But on the upper part, your stretch pattern is going to be different, and where your stitch is across here, there's not going to be any stretch along that stitch. And so the reason why I wanted it as an arch like this is because it would still have some stretch. It's just going to be not in a straight across type no stretch pattern. This way it'll still have some stretch and be able to have some maneuverability, because the stretch pattern here is there is no stretch this way. It's the loose way. Right now I've got the stretch, so it goes up like this. So the stretch is going to be on the top side right here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to trace it out and show you what I will be doing. Now I'm going to give myself a little extra room for my stitch so I don't make it too small. So I'm going right on the outside of the pattern, and it was going to be a little small on the arm here, so I'm going to go across and mark this down here, and then mark up and around, down to the center point. Okay, now that I've got my lapel here, I can see exactly how much room I have to work with, and I'm making this quite even, so I'm going to go right in here like this, and going to go to the center part of the neckline and cut it in like that. So there's a reason why I use this, because I can shape it after I move all this stuff out of the way. Now the center of the neckline is right about there. So now I get my lapel out of the way and my tracer out of the way, and I am going to proceed in cutting the leather right along my line here to my center point. Right, now what I do is I flip it over like this, and I make sure that I am where I need to be. As you can see, I'm real close right up here on the corner, and I'm tight here, so I've got some maneuverability here, and I'm going to just trace this out right along here. And trace it right along here. Whoop, did you see that leather move? We've got to make sure that that leather doesn't move. That's right. If it moves, you're screwed. So you got to make sure that your leather is nice and flat and is not going to move along your pattern. Okay, now that we've got that cut out, now for the big moment to take the scissors to the rest of it and follow my line here. Alright, now I can use this stuff here. I can go ahead and I can cut this into lacing. That way I can lace all around the edges and make it nice and smurfy. A lot of people get kind of tentative when they're cutting leather because they're scared of cutting leather, but you have to imagine it just like any other fabric. only it's really expensive fabric. And you can't be shy about cutting it where you marked it. Otherwise, it just takes too long. All right. So we have the backside, the Batman symbol, so to speak, of the backside of the vest. And I don't think there's going to be enough there to do the rest of the back, so I have to get a whole other hide in order to be able to finish the actual backside. And I don't think there's enough there to do another lapel. Well, there might be enough there to do the lapel. Let's see if we can work it. We can almost, look at that. We can almost work it in there. Remember, we have the lapel stretch. Alright, so the stretch is kind of both ways. A little bit, it's real tight that way, and the stretch pulls down on this one, which is probably not the right way, but I think it'll work okay. This pigskin is pretty decent stuff, and when I have the stretch going across the back, this will pull the leather across the back, so it's nice and tight. There won't be any slack jaw there. So this will be able to hold up nice without any bending across the belly. I want to make sure I get the stretch pattern the same way, and it's real tight. I don't think I can't fit that in there anyway. So this is going to have to go for a different project. Get another hide. Another thing when you're checking on these hides that you have laying around, I just happen to have a bunch of these pigskin. You want to make sure they're kind of same on the outside, so as not to provide a whole lot of contrast in the type of leather. Remember, my stretch pattern is going from the top to the bottom, so we got it going on right here. And it looks like I am just barely going to have enough here to be able to get this outside. It comes right down to the edge here. And you want to make sure, this is very important when you're doing this, you want to make sure that your hide is swayed side up when you're cutting the reverse side. Because if it's not going to be swayed side up, you're going to be cutting it wrong. That's right. So we have this stretch pattern there. We've got some marks over here we kind of want to keep away from. See, the hide goes diagonal. The stretch pattern is diagonal on this one. So if I can put the stretch pattern the same way, remember, swayed side up. Otherwise, you're going to be making two vests. You're going to have two right sides. The last thing you want to have is two right side lapels. So stretch pattern goes pretty good like this. Same stretch pattern. I'm going to be able to miss that scuff right there, so that's pretty good. Remember, you want to keep pressing this nice and flat to make sure that you don't do it incorrectly. Remember, your swayed side is up. Double check, triple check, and then go ahead and start tracing the outline of the pattern. Alright, so now we have it traced out. Now we are ready to cut. Alright, now we have our two lapels. They are reversed and they match nicely. Our front, the top part of our back. Now we just have to see if we can get a back part. Remember, this stretch doesn't go on that one. So now if I didn't have enough hide to do this, what I could do is I could run down the center and I could use this same piece of hide, only I would be going this way with it here. So I could go down the back, down the center, like this, and run all the way back down like this to the back. Now I could do that to conserve leather, but I don't think I'm going to. I think I'm going to go with a full piece. I'm going to go with a clean piece down the back to finish it up. And I have another hide here. Now you can see this is the the back haunches right here where this is the back haunch right in here. Here's where the asshole was, and it would have gone over the pig like this. Because it's the back of the pig, it's going to work well as the back of the vest. So I'm going to use this hide up here more towards the top as opposed to the rear, because it's a little thicker. The leather is a little thicker on the rear haunches than it is up here on the top. Shirt that I cut apart so I can get the proper width on the back side. Now if you notice here, this is where the back of the arm comes in, and it's going to be a vest. It's not going to be a tight shirt, so we can go down a little bit extra down here, because it'll give a little bit extra room for maneuverability. Now, because our sleeve right in here was pretty straight, we don't have to worry about any curvature. The curvature starts right after this. And because we're not really using this anymore as a pattern, other than maybe want it to be a little longer in the back, I think I'm going to go with a round bottom. I think I'm going to go with a round bottom, as opposed to so it kind of hangs down a little bit, not a straight vest. Just because I think it's going to look better with a round bottom, with the walking W or whatever they call it. So we've got a nice hard surface to work on, and we're going to probably eyeball this mostly, because that's just the way that I feel most comfortable with it, is eyeballing it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this shape here, and then we're going to make sure we have enough room here so we can go underneath the armpit here. Make sure, double check the length of the swoopy, and make sure that we have the right length that we're going to need on the swoopy. And it looks okay. And then I'm going to double check with the swoopy on the lapel. So the front of this is going to be basically the top of the shoulder right here. This is going to be the top of the shoulder, and this is going to be going over the back like this. Okay? So we have to imagine this is going to be sewn right here like this. So these are going to be sewn together. I'm probably going to layer sew them. So one is on top of the other, and probably the front lapel will be over the top of the back, because I'm going to lace across here. So let's put this back here and make sure that we have the, remember we're working this, are going to be inside out here, so we got to have the hide side to the hide side. Okay, so we're going to be going like this, and then we're going to be going like this. Alright, so we have the basic pattern that we're going to do here, and it's going to be across the back a little bit more than the front. So we're going to have, if you're looking at me, we're going to have the seam kind of, instead of back here, the seam is going to be up here a little bit more, right along lines with the pants. Alright, so we've got all of our points lined up. Now what we do is we are going to tilt it in a little bit, because generally with these type of clothing fixtures, the back tends to be a little flappy. So we're going to pinch it in a little bit to make the bottom part of the chest area a little bit slimmer, so it cuts in and pulls in a little bit. So we're going to tighten these up. Make sure that our points are lined up here on the top and then lined up down here on the bottom. And then we are going to go ahead and pull our pattern up and going to mark the bottom. We're going to go ahead and mark the bottom here so that we know what point we have to work with. Now remember, we only have to do one side of this, then we have to flip it over and then mark the other side because we want it to be symmetrical. So we do not want to do each one of these sides individually. So once we've got it lined up and we have our measurement here, we can go up and we can continue to mark from our pattern down here, our pattern up here, and you want to make sure that you have enough room up here. Double check, measure twice, cut once. So we have our suede side up. We have our bottom down here. Now remember, you can always make it a little long, and once you can make it a little long, you can always cut it down if it doesn't work, or reshape it. So it's always better to cut a little long than cut a little short, otherwise you're going to have to add in some eccentricity to fill it in all together, make it look right. Okay, so we're going up here, going to the top. We're going to cut in a little bit on the back side. So make sure that we have this right here, and then we have the mark down here. And remember, we are angling in a little bit. So I'm just going to go right on ahead and mark this monster right here, and then be able to cut in right here, just like that. Now this can be moved over and moved up because I got a little extra room over here to make it fit. So now we have this here, and we have the angle up here. We are ready to mark this. Make sure we hold it flat and don't roll the pattern away. And then we're going to, we've got it cut halfway. So we're going to stop here at the halfway point, and we're going to cut it out, and then we're going to fold it over, and then we're going to see where we are from there. Now we're going to trace this line here. Now I have to cut this down here. So we're just going to eyeball this and make it round. Okay? So we want to go at a 90-degree angle right here so we can make sure that it stays round, or even a little bit less of a 90 so that it comes to maybe like a little point, and then we can trim it off. So let's go ahead and go with just a kind of a point, and then we can trim it off. Now we've got this here. I'm going to go ahead and cut this. And we change the angle a little bit right here. And then we cut in for the swoopy. Alright. Now we have to cut down the side here. Alright. Alright, now that we've got it all cut out, now we can cut out the bottom part here that I've marked out. You want to make sure you keep your leather nice and pinched, so you don't maneuver the leather in any way that you don't want it to, because sometimes when you cut leather in two pieces, it tends to walk on itself. So you want to keep it pinched so it doesn't do that. Alright, there you go. We have the back lapel. Now let's see how we did. Make sure that it all lines up okay. Yeah, looks like we did pretty good. So everything kind of lines up. Now remember, this is going to go over the top here like this. Alright. So that's going to go over the top like that. And then these will be, then we'll have the back done. Okay? So now that we have all that complete, we have finished phase one of making your leather vest. So here we have the front lapels, the back, and we make sure that our lapels are opposing, which they are, so that they're mirror image when they're swayed and swayed. And then we have the back part. Now the design can vary upon your back part here. So whatever kind of design you want is up to you.